Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald.
Good afternoon. I want to first say I'll introduce the people here because I think that's such a wonderful thing that we are all here in a unified spirit to do this work, and that's how it all started. So I'm joined here today by the head of our trafficking division, Cindy Brown, the Southfield Police Chief, Alvin Barron, Auburn Hills Police Chief, Ryan Gagnon, Oakland County Commissioner Dave Woodward, Oakland County Commissioner Mike Spiz, Oakland County Commissioner Lenny Taylor, Oakland County Commissioner Karen Joliet, and acknowledge also that Commissioner William Miller could not be here, but thanks to him. I'd also like to thank Sheriff Mike Bouchard and his team, the Oakland County Sheriff's Office, for their leadership and for heading the Human Trafficking Task Force, but for which we would not be here. Did I forget anybody? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, which one? Okay. I'm sorry. You were not on my piece of paper. And then this is the chief. You're the chief?
Captain Ryan Kearney, Birmingham, please.
Okay. Did everybody get that? Captain Ryan Kearney, Birmingham Police Department. So many of you in this room have done stories on trafficking for the several years that I've been in office. But to recap, prior to 2021, our office prosecuted 5 trafficking cases in the previous 9 years. Once I took office and we started we formed the trafficking unit instead of the drug unit, and then we worked with our commissioners and our countywide leaders to form the Human Trafficking Task Force. We understood that the final obstacle was training. And so last November, my office reached a point where we decided the best way to get that done was to host our own training. And we invited all law enforcement free of charge and paid for that out of our training budget. We had, I think, 300 law enforcement officials there that day. And I think anyone that went there will tell you that it was eye-opening. Since that training a little over a year ago, we have seen the training result in what is now 38 trafficking cases that we have charged in that amount of time. And each case represents multiple victims that were rescued from traffickers who now have an opportunity to reclaim their agency and dignity from this enterprise. We've learned a lot of things about trafficking. And when I say we, I mean law enforcement, our commissioners, prosecutors, and we've learned how to stop it and how to prevent it. And part of that is holding the individuals accountable who seek out and pay traffickers for sexual acts. For decades, law enforcement, prosecutors, judges, our whole criminal justice system has avoided and neglected charging what we would traditionally label Johns, or those individuals who are seeking out these services that for pay, and we have essentially looked the other way. That we now know is the wrong thing to do, and a key part of preventing trafficking is to hold those individuals accountable, and that's what we're here today to announce. So I want to announce that we have now charged 8 individuals who are purchasers of sex work. I want to make clear that there is a distinction between willing consensual sex work and trafficking victims. And I'll even go so far to say is, as anyone advertising commercial sex work, you will almost always find is being trafficked. Young women do not grow up in hopes of one day becoming a sex worker. And what we now know is that these traffickers control victims of trafficking in every aspect of their lives, what they can eat, whether they can obtain medical care, and most importantly, when they must engage in sex work. They are often victims of blackmail, physical violence, and social isolation. These victims are essentially held hostage and dependent on their traffickers. It's absurd to pretend that these victims have any meaningful ability to consent to these acts. And anyone who thinks that paying for sex work is a victimless crime should think again. And regardless if your attempt to purchase sex work through a trafficker, it is still a crime, and in Oakland County, law enforcement will hold you accountable. These individuals are an example of that, charged today. We have charged 8 individuals with engaging services of a prostitution, which is a 93-day misdemeanor. And while that is not the most serious penalty and it is not a felony, it is a start to hold people accountable. I need just to make sure that everyone understands, of course, that all of these individuals are innocent until proven guilty, and these are allegations. And also that this is the strongest charge available to us at this time. It does not in any way signify or represent the harm and damage and injury it does to these victims, but it is a meaningful part of how we stop trafficking. I want to thank every single individual involved in this task force. This is some of the most difficult investigations to do. It is absolutely one of the most difficult kinds of cases to prosecute because oftentimes we don't get willing participants, and oftentimes it's going to take 1 or 2 or 3 attempts to help someone before they will allow us to help them. And it's also dangerous. We have law enforcement putting their lives at risk. So I just want to make sure that the credit goes to this task force, and that I could not be standing here announcing any of this without the support of my commissioners and their leadership. Dave Woodward has been instrumental in making sure that we put what's best for victims over politics. And I'm really proud to be the highest law enforcement official in this county, because I'm standing up here with a variety of different people from different jobs in different spaces in different communities, and we time and time again stand together and help to protect the people of this county. And I hope that we can serve as an example across the state of what you can do if you want to learn and get better and really help victims of crime. Michigan is one of the top states in the country for human trafficking. I'd like to now turn it over to Chief Barron. Before that, though, we're going to tell you a couple times. Anyone who needs help or has a tip, please contact Human Trafficking Prevention Tips at oakgov.com or call 248-858-0411. Chief Barron?
Thank you. So I'm going to start off by acknowledging our prosecutor, Karen McDonald. When we talk about human trafficking, this is a huge component to this. And the prosecution of these individuals is key. And having leadership here from our prosecutor to support the efforts of our task force and our officers is tremendous. So thank you, prosecutor, for you and your staff for what you do. Also, the support of our county commissioners, and most importantly, our task force leadership. Human trafficking is not just global or national. It is also happening right here in our communities. These crimes are complex, hidden, and they're traumatic for our victims. They demand a coordinated, specialized, victim-centered approach, and no single agency can do this alone. The Southfield Police Department recognized the importance of joining the task force. We also want to thank Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard for assembling the task force, and we were able to put officers and detectives in that unit because it does affect our quality of life. Through this task force, we've seen the impacts. We thank the media. You all have covered many stories that showed and highlighted the work that law enforcement is doing, and then sending the message through media sharing this information. The judges in some of these cases that we've had in Southfield in 2025, I'm proud to say that these judges took these cases seriously, and you're talking about bonds from $250,000 all the way up to $3 million, which was significant. And so again, just want to thank the prosecutor for her leadership, our county sheriff, and then all the agencies to participate in this task force because it is making a difference. We are rescuing victims from their abusers, and again, this is great work. Thank you.
Chief Gagnon, if you'd like to say a few words.
Sure, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ryan Guillen. I'm the Chief of Police at the Auburn Hills Police Department. I want to thank our Prosecutor McDonald for your leadership, our county commissioners, but as well as the Oakland County Sheriff's Office and the leadership and the task force. It's been a tremendous partnership for us. We realize that this is a problem in our community. It's a problem everywhere, and we are serious about eradicating this here in Oakland County. It doesn't have any business here in the county, but I want to reiterate what was said already. There is help for those that are involved in this. Prosecutor McDonald mentioned a few phone numbers, a website, but bare bones basic. If you are involved in this or a victim of this, call 911. Contact your local law enforcement. Ask to be put in touch with task force members here in Oakland County, and we can get you the help. There's a lot of resources out there. Again, I want to thank all of the work the task force is doing, and we're making strides to ensure that this is not welcome here in Oakland County. Thank you.
Commissioner Woodward.
Dave Woodward, Chair of the Board. I too want to thank the prosecutor, the sheriff, and all the agencies here. This has been one of the most eye-opening experiences. I want to applaud the leadership of the prosecutor office to provide the training and all of law enforcement that stepped up to be open to rethinking the way that we look at crimes that are happening. What might have been a minor domestic abuse situation or a minor drug case is quickly identified with signs of human trafficking that leads to saving a victim, that leads to 2 more victims, that leads to 10 more victims, and so on. And as a county, I am proud to say that Oakland County is investing more resources into the personnel and the resources necessary than any other county in Michigan. We know we are going to be actively looking for additional resources because these are very complex cases. But the message that all the people assembled here and all the individuals that are doing the work day to day is sending that to all traffickers that come to Oakland County, we will find you, we will catch you, and we will prevent this practice going forward. And so there's work happening every single day. It's absolutely wonderful of the progress that has been made, and lives are being saved and improved as a result of this work. And I want to give a special thanks to the Human Trafficking Prevention Task Force that is putting the time in every single day, not only to get a status of what's happening, but more importantly, look for creative ways to continue the funding that's necessary to make this happen. And we'll be turning to our state and federal partners, but in the meantime, Oakland County stands ready to move whatever resources necessary to keep Oakland County safe. Thank you.
Questions?
I've got a question. Since you created this task force and did this training, what would you say has been the biggest impact to you, prosecutor? What stands out the most to you?
You know, I started as an assistant prosecutor almost 25 years ago, and I remember seeing one prostitution charge against what we refer to as a John, and just the whole attitude that I think we all will acknowledge we had, this is not a good use of our resources. And the reason this is so prevalent is because it's very lucrative. And because for decades we have just labeled this consensual sex work. And even worse, we've treated the victims like criminals. This is their choice. And I think for me that is the most jarring thing that stands out. I cannot thank Cindy Brown, standing to my left, who really has been from the ground up working this tirelessly, and then, you know, the two of us just bringing this training, because we knew once once we could train and give people the knowledge that we had, that this would be an eye-opening experience, and it was. I mean, that day was really, it was 2 days, and you know, seasoned officers walked out of there saying, yeah, I didn't know how to deal with this, and now that we see this, it is very eye-opening. But I don't want to bury the lead here, because the lead is, you know, we're all thanking each other, and I think that's important because the public needs to know what we're doing and the recognition. But the lead here is that we are charging Johns. We are charging people who are purchasing commercial sex work, because even though that's just a misdemeanor, it is a crime, and it is not a victimless crime. And without that demand, you are not going to see this lucrative business continue to thrive.
Could you address your approach to trying to keep the survivors off the stand, using the evidence you gather and how you approach these cases with that in mind?
I will gladly turn that over to Cindy Brown.
So one of the things that we learned through the prosecution of these cases since January of 2021 is that obviously there was going to be a hurdle when you have the victims in these cases being very reluctant to testify for a slew of reasons, primarily their own safety. And so one of the things that we advocated for was some changes in the legislation that did take effect in April of this year. And one of those has to do with us allowing the admission of the statements that the victims make to law enforcement to be admissible at the preliminary exam. So it allows us to get cases heard and bound over to the circuit court level without bringing the victim into court and having to re-traumatize, and I'm saying her because that's mainly what we're seeing, but it happens to men as well, to re-traumatize the victim. And then what that does is it provides distance between the trafficker who thinks the case is going to get dismissed at exam because the victim's not going to show up, and then time goes by, and ultimately we get more and more victims. As we get cell phone downloads, we do more investigating, and then when there's more people who come forward against the trafficker, it makes our case stronger. So that has been, I would say, based on, you know, roughly 5 years we've been doing this, that has been the biggest game changer in terms of our ability to go after those cases. We are also have some phenomenal technology, thanks to our chief assistant who sees the importance of it. I'm not going to relay it in this press conference, but it has been also instrumental in our ability to proceed with these cases and get the traffickers held accountable without putting the victims through the re-trauma of testifying.
You know, I think that's the best thing to, I think, compare this to is long ago how the criminal justice system responded to domestic violence cases. If you know, a woman was a victim and they didn't want to disclose at the scene, or if they changed their mind, we used to say, okay. But we learned a lot as a society and how and why victims sometimes recant. That's actually normal. Why sometimes victims will not disclose. And we've changed laws to do that, and we've changed the way and the tools we can use to investigate and prosecute.
And just a quick follow-up, what services are available from the prosecutor's office or the county as a whole for these survivors?
Well, we have a full team here of victim advocates and paralegals and investigators, but we also work with community partners and stakeholders like Common Ground, and there are state agencies and entities that are working on trafficking. I think we still have a lot of work to do on the resource part of this. The first part, though, is what we're doing here and educating and being transparent with the public about where the need is.
So you're talking about charging Johns, and this is a change from the past, a pivot. So why is this the right direction? Why will this reduce this crime?
Because most of the many purchasers of commercial sex work are people and individuals who have a lot at stake and do not want to be charged. And if the stakes are high and the consequences are there, you're going to lessen the demand, and it just won't be as lucrative.
Can you talk about any of the 8 cases or the 8 suspects you mentioned today? How many victims do you believe are connected to all these suspects, and what communities did they happen in?
We can share that that's two different locations. One is in Southfield and one is in Auburn Hills. All 8 were charged with the prostitution charge. One of the individuals was also charged for possessing a firearm.
Other questions? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.